Hi, Pastor Mark here in Istanbul, Turkey, originally called Byzantium. With the supposed conversion of Constantine, it was renamed to Constantinople, the city of Constantine. At that time, Christianity was legalized and persecution subsided, and the church began to explode and grow in great numbers. Enormous churches were built. This is one example. A church on this site was originally constructed in the days of John Chrysostom. He was the golden-mouthed preacher who some say is responsible for expository Bible teaching. The church was much smaller at that time. The emperor's wife wanted to erect a statue of herself out in front of the church, and she apparently was not a lover of Jesus and wanted the Christians to pay homage and tribute to her. Chrysostom, being a good pastor, refused that, actually quite strenuously. The result was that he was ultimately taken out of town, essentially exiled, and instead of accepting their fate, the Christians were so committed to Jesus and their pastor that the first version of this church was actually burned to the ground by the church members. They so refused to compromise doctrinally that they burned the church to the ground. Over the years, the church was rebuilt on various occasions. It was destroyed by fire, riots, and also earthquakes. In due time, this enormous church was built under the financing and oversight of the emperor. It was done so in about 5 years, which is an amazingly brief time as we enjoy the magnificence of the location. We are told that the workers worked day and night, 24 hours a day for 5 years. They're currently undergoing renovation that'll be opened up in 2010 so that the entirety of the space can be fully enjoyed. Upon entering in, the emperor was reportedly so excited by his achievement that he proclaimed, "Solomon, I have defeated you, I have beaten you." He believed that this would be the epicenter for world worship of God, the centerpiece of Christianity, and would replace the then destroyed temple in Jerusalem. Amazingly, many councils met in this region. In 451 AD, the Council of Chalcedon convened not too far from here, and they came forth with a hypostatic union that Jesus is one person, two natures, fully God, fully man. The Council of Chalcedon was exceedingly important to protect the church from heresy and error. And this region and this city was, in some regards, the centerpiece for theology for a full millennium. A number of years after the Council of Chalcedon, invaders came, essentially Muslims, in an effort to take the Christian city of Constantinople. I use the word Christian in italices. Of course, not all were Christian, but it viewed itself in large part as a Christian city. And as the invaders approached the city, and as the city was about to be sacked, and this church was about to be taken, history reports that many of the theologians were convened, absolutely ignorant of what was going on around them, or at least unconcerned. We read that they were arguing over whether or not angels were engendered male and female. Sadly, they were apparently not unlike guys in Bible college and seminary, foolish bloggers, guys who read footnotes, not for the purpose of doing something for Christ, but just enjoying the theology, the dialogue, and the discussion while the world goes to hell and is destroyed around them, and churches are ransacked by false teaching. And it is a good reminder that we should study, but we should not neglect the work that God has for us to do, the preaching of the gospel, the building of the church, the defending of that which is built. Sadly, this was ultimately turned into a mosque. We see that when it was taken, the crosses were all removed from the marble, and instead, here's what we find today. Allah alone is the great God, the first verses of the Quran, and Muhammad is the prophet of God, all hanging up. The wonderful mosaics of Jesus and Scripture were plastered over. Some have been recovered. Some apparently will never be unearthed because they have been so damaged. And today it is simply a museum. It is a museum in a town that is almost entirely Muslim, as the church here defended the faith for 1,000 years and got so sidetracked, as many denominations, churches, Bible colleges, seminaries, and traditions do, arguing over secondary matters, losing sight of their mission to reach and defend their city and world. And the result is, it is a beautiful monument, but there is no sermon here on Sunday. There is no church that is gathering here. There are no converts being baptized. There are no weddings being officiated. And as beautiful as it is, I hate to say it, I don't think it has a tremendous amount of value other than a historical footnote, because the church is not buildings and places, as wonderful as they may be. They're simply to house God's people so that the truth of Jesus might go forward. And tragically, in this amazing city, that is not happening.